Hey guys, it's me again, Orange Slayer. What if? So this will be part 2 to What If Deku Was a Fallen. Where I last left off, they all finally went to sleep, and now the Fallen are aware that there's a house of devils, house of bulls, and some FOTC, as well as some guardians, are within their little area that they're in. Deku, he used as a trap. I will clear some things up because I looked and went back and but I looked up the weapons. So what Deku uses is a shrapnel rifle, which fires little bits of shrapnel that are cause heat damage. And then there's also shock rifles, shock pistols, wire rifles, daggers, and scimitars, or scabbards, or scimitars, or something other. Now, as I digress, where I will continue off from is what Deku and his group are doing right now, and I'll say Toga just sort of hangs around a bit. They sort of are getting their daily daily ration of ether to drink, which is I believe what they do. They drink it, is how I believe they do it. So as this is happening, an alarm gets sound they're like, get up, go. As this is happening, Kirishima's been swapped out with another guy, because Kirishima's been out there for a while. And so they're swapped out, and they walk in to where the Baroness, and she has her little crew there, and they're in the back with Toga, and the Shank is still Shank has gone back to where it's from. But I digress. So they continue forward. The Baroness starts laying out plans on what they will be doing and what areas they will be scouting, because they're gonna go ahead and check out from where the bunkers were. They're gonna send up a couple of teams to check out each of the bunkers. One team's gonna a few teams are gonna go check out the House of Bulls, and then the rest are gonna go. And then the other two teams are gonna go check out the House of Devils. And now, this is where she says, "Now, where is Deku?" And as he hears that, he sort of gets to the front. And as he says, "Here, Baroness." As this is said, she's like, you will go see if you can find any of the other FOTC or the ghouls." And he's like, "Is it just me, ma'am?" She's like, "Yes, it will be. You'll be doing this at night, though. We have a pretty good idea of where they may be. We sent a few Shanks to search. We may have found some." He's like, "Yes, ma'am." As that ends, he goes, and she specifically tells him it will be nighttime, that way he can utilize his armor and clothing and such. So he goes out at nighttime and just keeps around. He's trying to find them, and then finds their little position. They're holed up in a little structure, and he's just on there with a building, just peeking over something with two a pair of fallen binoculars, or even a little telescope. So as this is happening, he's just watching them and just counting them. They're 1, 2, 3, 4. He counts the guardians. Then he notices something. He's like, "Wait a second. 1, 2, where's the third one?" As this happens, he just gets tackled. Just and just falls down a little chute. They're like, "What's that?" He sort of throws Suyu off him and just shouts in Elixir, just shouts in Elixir. If I didn't clarify that, they've been speaking in Elixir, and that the other people are speaking in Japanese or English. I'll say English. But I digress. As I continue forward, what is happening now is that Deku's trying to get out, and he's counted their numbers. They've lost a few people, 1 or 2. But they manage to take down the squads before they can, like, report back. So as this is happening, Deku just, like, sort of, like, squares off against this hunter. She's like, got you now. As he's like, you're cornered now. As this happens, Deku's like, just sort of gives like a little chuckle, then like pulls out like a flashbang, tosses it to her. She's like, what the ah. As she's like trying to shake off, she's like, Guardian, are you okay? At this point, Deku's gone back, like already like flipped over, open a sewer lid, and just started hauling it. They sort of like plan this, so there's like a few traps and such like down the sewers. You like dodging. At this point, like the others have returned to the base. The Baroness is like, Deku is the only one who has not returned. So Kirishima and them start getting worried, as well as Toga. She just sort of hangs around them because, well, she kind of just owes her life to Deku. And they start calling like, Deku, where are you? He's like, been spotted. Ghoul found me. Spotted. Running for life. We'll call back. As that happens, it's just like the Suyu gets down, just starts chasing him. He just avoids the traps and just like goes up and down, up and down, up and down, right to left, right, left, and just killing a few gators along his way. He gets up the final thing and just like slams it down, then just runs and hides. He literally, I'll say like at this point, like he sees a garbage can, like jumps in, just like buries himself in it. Just like being as quiet as possible. The hunter's like, dang it, we lost him. The ghost is like, it's alright. We'll get a chance later. Did you get more pictures? They're like, yeah, I got more pictures. And so they sort of just like have these pictures of Deku, and they're like just wondering, trying to look for any sigils or like little numbers. Well, not numbers, but like little indications of a house. Because they know they have their colors, then they have their symbol of their house on their cape. Or something. But since it's a house of panthers, they just like, oh, so this says the House of Panthers. Lixini language is weird. But they like go through the archives, they're like, there's only one mention of another fallen having this, and they're long gone, as far as we can tell. We haven't seen them in years. And so, as they, like, move on, Deku just, like, gets out of his little hiding place, like, searches around, then, like, activates his, like, little stealth thing and just runs off again. He's sort of been, like, charged with keeping an eye out, as well as, like, grabbing little bits of salvage. So, as this continues, he just sort of runs away. He just runs away and does whatever. Now, as he continues, he like sort of like makes it to a safe distance and reports back saying that they've lost a few of them. The hunter is he's like says the hunter, or the short skinny one, is Ghoul is like looking for him. And the short skinny Ghoul is like actively hunting him. As he states this, some of them like, we could use him to lure into a trap. And the Baroness is like, got hair or something in my mouth. But she's like, no, too risky. And she points out how those ones usually stick with teams sometimes, a few times, that they stick with teams, especially the big one and then the weirdly dressed one. Now, as this is said, she's like, report back. We get intel. We have gathered the intel. And so as they they all get like another meeting. Kirishima's at this point like like on Century, and Kirishima and Kaminari's like in his like little crow's nest, just like peeking out with his wire rifle. And Toga is like still like around Deku, he doesn't really question this. He's just like, alright, I got a fan, or whatever. But he like knows that dregs typically follow some vandals, and then vandals follow captains, and captains follow barons or whatever. You get the point. Now what's happening is that she just sort of, now they're like just explaining like the forces of House of Bulls number this many, the House of Devils number this many. And she still thinks, and she says, we are probably still unknown to the ghouls. But as she continues, she says that we will not do anything. We will scout, and that is all. We will do patrols and bring in salvage for a servitor. And then you like say she's like she has put an order in to like so they can get a servitor if possible. So that way they can like produce their own ether instead of like having to rely on like the house sending more and more ether supplies. So as this is said, she sort of like says that they will be heading back, that she'll send a team back, like not a team but a couple of them back, so that way she may go, so that they may like go sign off and like not sign off but go like sure that everything's there. So she's doesn't select not Toga, but Deku. She ends up selecting like the same guy who did it last time. And she talks to Deku saying that she has another mission for him and that it'll require that he'll be taking a few Elixni. So he'll take not Elixni but Fallen, and he'll take Mina, Toga, and just Mina and Toga and like a few Shanks. As this is said, they sort of just like ask what they're doing, and that she's like, we've heard reports of bulls moving into this territory. And sure they don't. And they're like, we're on it. And they set off. Bell has like kept it's not Bell. Deku still is like wandering out. They're like still, he's like leading, and they're like being all stealthy. The Shanks have been like turned off, I would say, and like are like strapped. Not even like they are still hovering, but they're just like quiet. So they're sneaking up on the position, like look it over. They see a couple of vandals and like a few dregs, while like two Shanks are around. As this happens, like Deku like leans over and says that we'll send that Mina will take the Shank and like flank on the right, while Toga and him and another Shank will go from this direction. As it happens, they sort of like prepare, like they take out their little shock grenades and like I think they're shock or spike grenades, one of the two. And they like sort of prep them, then like toss them. This takes care of like two dregs and like one of the vandals, and I'll say like a Shank. So now they just like move in, just like and just quickly take him out. He's like, search them. As this happens, one of the squads of FOTC we're moving up at this point. And no, there isn't a Guardian with them, but as this happens, they come over fire like. As this happens, they like Deku like grabs Mina and Toga and like dive and like sort of like gets them like both behind cover. As this happens, they just see the FOTC covering fire like constantly laying down fire to try to keep them suppressed, while a couple of them move up. Deku like prepares his rifle and just like sort of goes a quick shot like those guys are dead. The Shanks have taken cover because that's what Deku ordered them to do. Now they're just like slowly sneaking up. Now at this point, Deku tells Toga that she has another spike grenade. She's like, yeah. He tells her to prep it and throw it, and right about as she's like has prepped it, now he tosses it one of the guys go up and shoot it, but at this point, not the dregs, but the shanks like literally fell behind and just like lit them up and took them down, while leaving one. And it's like they like float up towards it and just like guns ready, like Deku and like his little gang like run up and like sort of just like throw him to the ground and go, and just start shouting in Elixir and just surround him. Excuse me, I am sorry. Just surround him. And they're like literally guns are trained. They're like, he told Toga to search the bodies to see if she can find anything. She doesn't really find anything aside from like a few, like a grenade or two, some like guns and like a bit of ammo and such. Nothing really too interesting. But she does find like a necklace or two, and just like says she would keep it, and he's like, sure, keep it, I don't care. So as they have this, they radio in to the Baroness saying that they have a human right here, and what should they do? She's like, bring him here. We'll see if he'll talk. So as they like, Deku just like sort of grabs his rifle and goes, Hurrah! Just knocks him out. At this point, they like, one of the team's radio like, Alpha 1, this is Beta 6, are you there? Just like, shh, Alpha 1, are you there? This is Beta 6. As that's happening, they sort of like, one of the Guardians like, Alpha 1, report. This is Ida, Titan Ida, reporting. Status report. As this happening, they're like, they're over here, maybe their stuff just got messed up. So they sent like go over there. Ida's like leading his squad. As they look over, they see the bodies just like, and then they like look over and see the fallen, then just see what had happened. They're like, fallen weaponry did this. Then they're like, they're looking around, they're like, hang on a second, where's Aizawa? As this is said, it just like cuts back to Aizawa just be like being sort of carried by Deku, and they're just running up and get back into position. They've covered his eyes at this point in his mouth, so that way he can't like scream or anything. So as this is happening, they have a chair, strap him down and all that, and they get woken up. He sees that Deku is like finishing talking with the Baroness and all that. As that continues on, he just sort of like walks out and asks, like before he goes, he's like, is there any other orders? They're like, no. Go see if you, like, go check the perimeter or something. As that is said, they go out and just take a perimeter sweep. They just like look around, and he like checks him with Kirishima and Kaminari. Kirishima's like, hold up. They're like exiting, and he's like, we got movement around here. As that is said, he's like, it's a group of fallen. House of Devils. As they said this, like, Deku and them, like, run forward. They're like, oh, excuse me, Baroness. House of Devils, incoming. As they say this, the Baroness, like, just knocks out Aizawa again. Like, he's like, oh, come on. And just is knocked out. And he, like, run forward. She like runs forward, takes up positions, and they're just like at the ready. It's two captains, a few vandals, and a dozen dregs. They're just like sort of scouting the area out. The captains are talking with them. They're like, "This is where we lost contact. This is where we lost contact." I believe I said it was if it was the House of Bulls, I apologize. No, it's a House of Bulls, I'll say, instead of the House of Devils. Because the Devils don't know that the House of Lions are here. They're only known is that there's a House of Bulls, but they like are sort of, it's like I see you, you see me sort of thing, that they're watching their movement for anything shifty. And so the House of Bulls are like, this is where you lost contact with with his crew. As this is said, like, Deku's just wondering, like, asked the Baroness, should we attack? We got grenades we can throw. As he says this, like, out of nowhere, there's like a, not out of nowhere, but Kirishima and like some of the other sentries like have moved back to like be able to jump on them. As this is happening, she's like, now go! As this happens, a few wire rifles go down, like shoot off and like take care of the vandals and like one of the captains, and like it was like two vandals and like two wire rifle shots were focused on the captain. As this happens, the captain's like, take positions! As this is happening, they're like defending themselves. Well, right behind them, there's Kirishima and like some of the sentries. So what they do, they prep their little spike things and like toss it down. This captain's like, grenade! And now, as since like the vandals, like a vandal and several of the dregs have survived, they're like out in the open. They're just getting picked off, except for one vandal. It's like left alive. It just like throws down its weapon like, and just like sort of like puts its hands behind its back. As this happens, they like talk to the Baroness. Should we take them? We got 2 places to hold 2 prisoners. As they like walk down, like sort of knock it out, like they just sort of drag it away. As this happens, she's like, just check the bodies again, see what they have. Did I ever give the House of Bulls colors? If I don't, tell me what you guys want the colors for the House of Bulls to be. But I continue forward. How does they have them in a room, and the Baroness again is leading interrogations, saying like she's sort of like hits them a couple of times, like telling them like why are they here, and it's like spits out her face. As this happens, she like gets her like fist and like hits it one thing, like she hits it hard enough that it just gets knocked out. She returns to Aizawa. At this point, Aizawa hasn't said a thing. Now, I'm sorry. Now, as I digress, what happens now is that Aizawa's just keeping his mouth shut. She's like punches him like, As he's not talking, she like starting to get frustrated. But at this point, like Aizawa springs his like little thing. He's been working on his bonds and like manages to get jump on her. He's like pretty tall and pretty big, so he like gets jump on her and like throws her down and like knocks her out. After that, she's like knocked out, just like unconscious. So at this point, what happens is he takes like her rifle and just like moves through and goes out the back door in a way. So as he's like running forward, he like takes a note of the position and where they are, that this is not just some random like mercenary group, but it's an actual house, because he's noticed like the sigils and such. Like they have like, usually in bases they'll have like their like house colors and the whole symbol. He takes note of all this as he's like running away and going back. He like gets back and like meets up at like the position. Like Deku, like during this, like Deku, like they hear the commotion, like runs in. Like Aizawa makes eye contact with the like Deku, and Deku just like as he's like chasing him, he tells them all to like deal with like the Baroness, and that he's going after the prisoner. As he's running after him, he like manages to tackle him and gets into like a fist fight, and it's like sort of pretty close, but then like Aizawa makes a misstep and like falls down like a pretty big hill. As Deku's like chasing him and firing, like a couple of vandals from the House of Bulls like see him as he's aiming, and some of these vandals were like there for the fall of House of Panther. So as they see the same thing, like open fire, Aizawa also takes notice on like how they're like, instead of going after the person, which some houses may like try to kill a human more than each other. So as he like takes notice, like Deku like takes cover and just like opens fire with his shrapnel rifle, going. These two vandals have like two shock rifles. That's like, and like one's using like a couple of like a shock pistol. Like, it rushes forward, like jumps over the rock, trying to like get at Deku. Aizawa sees him like flip it over and like snap its neck, like. And as it does that, the other vandal like sort of just like starts like moving back. Deku like presses the advantage, going. This point, I'll say there's like a little river. Aizawa's like jumped into the river and just started swimming. As he's like seeing like swimming away, he sees as like Deku finally got up to it. The vandal puts up its like 1-2 with its arm, and then Deku's just and just looks down the river and sees Aizawa. He like thinks about giving chase, but then like more hostiles show up. Then he's like, and then just like runs away. Like these dregs just start chasing him, so he just like keeps like taking a position, like keeps opening fire. He like makes eye contact again from like 100 yards away from Aizawa. They're like staring at each other. Then Deku like returns to the situation at hand, just like fights off the dregs. Aizawa's taking a note that these House of Bulls don't like this fallen. So as this happens, Deku like sort of gets back to the camp after like killing an entire squad of like vandal, like an entire group of like 2 vandals and like 4 dregs that were like checking out like the area or going scavenging. And he returns back and he's like, the human got away. I got held up by a group of bulls. As the Baroness says, we'll relocate. There's a few more bases we can take up. And as this is like said, he's like, I'm sorry, Baron. My Baron or Baroness. He got away. She's like, what? And like sort of picks him up and like puts him against the wall. Like a little thud. And Belle's group sort of like comes like at the ready while the others like sort of tell them to stay back. She's like, why didn't you get him? A squad of like a group of bulls attacked me though. Forgive me. I don't mean to make excuses, but I got attacked by a group of bulls. As he says that, she's like, how many were there? 2 vandals and 4 drakes. He got down the river, but I'm pretty sure I hit him. I could have chased after him, but then I thought it was just 2 vandals, but then the drake showed up. She's like, just thinking. And then after that, she's like, fine, it's acceptable. And then she like gives the order that they will be moving out to a different position to reset up. And as this is happening, like they get straight to like take all their gear, all the shanks, like some of the weapons, and like load it on like a few carts. They're like doing this like very quickly and efficiently. She tells Deku and like his like little squad to go like check up and take a few shanks to like go check up this position to see if it's still clear. So they're like, we'll see you ahead. As they go there, they like start wandering, and as through this journey, I'll cut back to Aizawa and the team of. As he like arrives, they're like, "Oh God, Aizawa, we thought you were dead." And as they're speaking to them, as they were speaking to him and such, they were doing the usual. They were like sort of like discussing like where could they be. As he says this, as he like Momo says this, like we're trying to find out where they are. But then like they see like Aizawa running towards with like a fallen weaponry, and so as he like gets up, they're like, we thought you were dead, man. And he is like, status report. It's like, yes, sir. Or yes, Ida. As he like states off what he saw and how like there are definitely like another house here. They're not just a mercenary group. And as he like states this, that is what we feared. Then he like notes how he was like being interrogated by like what he says was a like captain or baron or something. She was big. As he like describes her, like she was much bigger than like even Ida. Say Ida's like he's like full grown, so I'll say he's like 6'6", and this baron was like 7'11". 7'11". And as this is said, they're like, maybe even like bigger, because you never know with how Elixir grow. And how he states like after he like got himself free, that he was chased down by the one wearing the black and white. And this one like chased him down, and actually he fought it a bit and was losing quite badly. Like he says he could hold his own for a little bit, but after a while the fallen just started like taking him down bit by bit. And as he fell down a hill, he like talks about like how the fallen like got shot at and then like had to take cover. He like knows the House of Bull, and he like looked up, and as Deku saw that, he looked up too and like looked over, and as he saw this, the House of Bull like opened fire like as he like gets fired at. He like runs over, and he describes how he leapt over some rocks or rubble and just like took up positions, and he pretty much gave in fine detail on how Deku essentially executed them, and that he says that he would have probably gotten killed if not like another group of drakes showed up. Like, and he describes how he expertly dispatched of the drakes as well. So now the Guardians are kind of worried. They're like, what in the actual world? Because they've never received reports about any fallen like this that's wear this black armor. And they say, alright, well, this information will help us. All we gotta do is find their base of operations. He's like, oh yeah, their operations were like over here in this area. If we go along this river, I should be able to get us back. So they get like their entire like little, like all their teams ready. They move out and start clearing out the base. Like they were here, but they aren't anymore. Now as this is happening, like Deku's like talking with the Baroness that we should probably keep more watches up. She's like, I know what to do. You've only been here for what, like 4 months? And I'll say this has been a time skip, that they've just been like sort of keeping an eye out, watching, and like keeping an eye on the humans. Deku's had a few run-ins with Tsuyu at this point. Never any of the other like Guardians. Like Tsuyu has taken this as like a personal mission to find out who this fallen is, and he keeps on getting away from me. I don't know how. But as she says this, she's like, I could possibly lure him into a trap. He seems to be going out at night, as like this is the missions he's been been given, and like to go clear out every now and then. Maybe like an FOTC that's been scouts a position will find them out in the open. Not out in the open, but they like a squad, like a pair have who check out areas, have seen him they see him like wandering, like scouting out areas. They're like, yeah, he seems to be like their scout or something. I don't know. Explains why he was watching us. But as I digress. So they just sort of get on, and she like tries to formulate a plan, but before that can happen, they get talk about how like a major fallen offensive have been launched against each other. So they like go out and like check out that. They like check it out and see like what's happening. So the House of Devils and a few of their like captains have like got into a firefight with a few of the House of Bulls. So now they're like, they like found some like very good like materials to use to be converted into ether. Now they're like fighting each other over it. Like a few crews of House of Devils and a few crews of House of Bulls like found the same group, and now they like look at each other and they like get their weapons. They're like, go! and they just charge in. They're like documenting, yeah, it looks like a few crews and such, typical Fallen killing Fallen. But as this is said, like, one of them's like active, like broadcasting this to them, and it's like, Deku has been sent out on a mission with Kaminari. At this point, they're like, they've picked this up, and so they like rushed over real quick. She's like, you and you, go check it out. They're like, yes, ma'am. As they're running off, Kaminari still has his wire rifle. And also that they've both been given like little stealth things, so that way they can go invisible. As that's happening, like they see like off, they're like, hang on, what's that? As they like, one pokes, the girl like pokes him on his shoulder, like, hey, look over there. You see that? Over like the valley, not valley, but over like a distance, like they see like on a hill, that they see the two Fallen, and it's like, it's one of those ones wearing that weird colors, like the House of Lions or something. Then like they see the one in the black and white. It's like, hey, Jim, that's the one the hunter's been talking about. Yeah, it is. Like, what do you see there, Kaminari? Looks like the devils and the bulls are fighting over some resources. And he sort of radios into Baroness saying, how many forces do we know that the House of Bulls have? They have quite a number around here. They got at least 300. At the very least. And as he says that, they got like 3 crews over here. We don't have enough to take an offensive, so. So there's like, we'll keep watch and see what's happening. And as that, like, they, like, hear Kaminari and, like, notices, hey, there's a couple of FOTC over there. As he, like, just sort of, like, take this moment that they're just staring at each other. It's just, like, an awkward moment. Just, like, it's like 2 binoculars are just, like, staring at each other. And they sort of bring it up, and they're, like, boof. As like I keep on saying Kirishima, Kaminari and Deku like immediately, like slowly but like surely just act like, as they like staring at him, they like activating cloak, and they just go and just run off. The hunter's like, get after him. Aizawa's like, no, not Aizawa. Ida's like, no. That Fallen is exceptionally skilled if it's able to take on you, Suyu. We will have to wait to deal with them later. Right now, let's focus on this little offensive that's going on. And they talk about how they may be able to, like, go for one of the Devil's bases. Or one of the Bull's bases. They say, why would we go after either? We're trying to clear this area. Because we hear that some tech is around. So as this is being said, they like sort of report back that the humans spotted them, so they retreated a bit. The Baroness is like, how many were there? Oh, just 2. Like a pair of scouts. She's like, should have gone after. Good after them. We could head back if you want. No, too late. Come back, we'll deal with it then. Make sure you aren't followed. As this is happening, they like hear something like a couple of pikes showed up that like have been called in to assist like the House of Devils. As they see this, they're like, we found a couple of pikes, could we take them? She's like, take them. So as they see this, the like little pair of pikes, they literally just walk up and like take down, like Assassin's Creed style, like take down the 2 dregs that have taken them. And they get on and they're just like, the pikes have been acquired. Alright, get back here. And they just go like arrive there. They're like, yeah, we got these 2. She's like, we'll have some of the mechanics take a look at them. Now I don't know if the Archons work on everything that involves machinery, but I know they work on the servitors and such. So, as I continue forward, what will happen now is that they're just like doing their standard thing. They're like keeping on patrols. This isn't like 6 months into this. Toga has like sort of been assimilated into like Deku's like little squad. As this is going on, the I'll say that Deku's like little, like the Baroness's like little thing numbers up to 150 at the very least, because they have to keep an entire outpost running as well as like bringing in information and the like. No, as I digress, the Baroness and such has given out an order that the House of Bull, like one of the outposts, have been lost because the House of Devils assaulted it while losing like a lot of numbers. So they're saying that they're both kind of weak at this moment, but that she's gonna hold off from doing anything. That the FOTC are still active, but they have lost like a squad and a half. Aside from that other squad Deku's taken down, they've lost like half a squad. Or like an entire another squad. So there's like only 2 squads of FOTC, and the 3 Guardians are still hanging around. Aizawa and Tsuyu are still like trying to get Deku, because they believe that he's like a very dangerous asset at the moment. So anytime Tsuyu sees a chance, like even at one point Tsuyu and like a guy like Aizawa were like scouting out like a little area, Deku was sent out on his own this time because the Baron has like taken great interest and like has put Deku to the test. So he's like succeed like time and time again. Like it's like mission after mission, and he succeed with either very good or like a little bit or just average. So she's like, all right. She sends him off by himself, and this time he still has his like little pair of binoculars, and as like Aizawa and them are still doing it, they're like still watching. Then they like see again that the black and white is just standing there and just looking at this squad as well. He's like reporting into the Baroness. Oh, there's a captain, couple of vandals, and several drag. Nothing unusual. But as I said, like a servitor pops out and over, like it's like, wait a second, there's a servitor. At this point, they've received their servitor, so they're having a large push, like quite a bit of their, like the Baroness has been like bringing in like little bits of like having the dregs and such, like bring in scrap and such, so that way it can be processed from materials to be turned into ether. Now, as this is going on, the Hunter has been sneaking up on Deku. As I digress, she still continues on with the whole, I believe I just lost my train of thought for a second. The Baroness is like telling him what to do and what not to do and all that. She's like running a tight shift. I'll say they've lost like 5 at this point, so they're down to 145 members. And a few of these were just a drag and a vandal. And like I'll say like a large majority, like 40, not even 40, like maybe 50 of this is like comprised of dregs, a cup, and like several of them are like not even several, like dozens of them are comprised of vandals, shanks, a couple of servitors, and then the Baroness herself. Now as this is going on, like Tsuyu and Aizawa have been like slowly but surely sneaking up on Deku, and as he's like about to like send in the final report, that's when they jump. Aizawa like jumps him first as Deku like smashes him in the back and like throws him off. Tsuyu like runs up and like sort of goes hand-to-hand combat. Deku takes out his Kakuri, not even takes out his Kakuri, like she like backhands him and hits him with her gun. As this is happening, she like tries to run over and grab his arm. Deku like swishes out his Kakuri and like stabs her like right in the neck and goes, whoa! Then he jumps on Aizawa. Like after trying to get to Aizawa, he just like throws him and like knocks him out. And just sort of like, I'll say he doesn't like just knock him out, but he like gets him in the eyes. So Aizawa's half blind right now. He's like, ah, my eye. As this is happening, like Deku just like grabs his rifle, hits him over, and as he's about to finish it, not the Warlock, but a couple of FOTC like just open fire, like He sees this and then like he runs over and hops on his pike, which he's customized to be black and white, and just speeds off like and just rides off. The hunter revives herself like, ugh. She revives herself again so that way she can, and she starts looking at Aizawa's wounds and such. Sorry if you heard that. The dogs are barking again. Nobody knows how to keep their dogs shut up. So as I digress, they continue forward, and Deku like got hit a bit. He like got like stabbed a bit by the hunter, or like Aizawa. Like Aizawa stabbed him in the leg, such. And sorry, yeah, I'll keep on going for a little bit. As he's reporting this in, they say, yeah, it was like a small squad. They're just looking for materials, nothing unusual. And then he like, as he was describing this, they like, oh, he's like, what's happening? Oh. And as he shouts in Elixir, like, a ghoul and the guy from before. She's like, kill him. As he like does that, the same scenarios, he's like, wasn't able to kill him, but I took out his eye. She's like, good. Ugh. And as like Aizawa's like carried up and like has his eyes patched, she's like, we told you not to engage him. They're like, look, he just like took down a hunter and like a sergeant of the FOTC. He's pretty dangerous. And as he's like riding off, like the hunter like says, I'm going after him, and like summons her sparrow. She's like and as Deku's just like riding, he like hears something and just sees the Suyu riding after him, like, and she has like her gun and just starts shooting like. As this is happening, he's like going back and forth and like dodging, then takes like a little like and goes through the back. He's like sort of like laughing and trying to goad her on and like shouting Elixir. This ghost can understand Elixir because it's like learned up, and he's like, you do not know what he just called you. As she like hears it, she's like and speeds up. He's just like leading her on to the point that he like literally just out of nowhere stops like his thing and then just like starts going off slowly and then speeds off fully. She's like, dang it, lost him again. As like Ida's like, you need to stop going after him. Suyu in this is like more brash, I would say. She's like still very kind, but she's more brash, is I believe the word. And she like tries to get him, but she's like, oh, lost him again. He reports back, and at this point, it's just like a funny thing that this hunter must really like you. He's like, shut up. He tells Kirishima to like shut up, and Mina says the same thing. Toga still like wanders over to him to like, she says he's hurt and that she'll like take a look at it. He's like, oh, fine. And she's like taking care of that and everything. They just keep on going, and he's like, oh, she shot my thing. And as he talks to the mechanic, I guess, about how she shot his thing, he's like, it's fine. The Baroness like walks over to him, and I believe I said this was 6 months in, and says that soon we'll become like doing like an operation, I guess, because they already know that we are here. They don't know our base location, but they, as far as they know, they don't know that their base location is right here, but they do know that we exist. So she's like, we'll be leading an offensive against the House of Bull. They're significantly damaged, and they are very weakened, because the House of Devils have been hitting them hard. So for this final outpost, this will be ending, like right here, so sorry for the cliffhanger, but she states that Deku will be leading a portion of the forces, like, as, like, her, like, second, because Deku, like, a few of her other seconds have been just dying off, like, goes on the missions they're on, they, like, it's either lucky shot, unlucky, or they just, like, flat out get murdered by a Guardian. Deku's the only one who's been smart enough and great, like strong enough to really avoid being killed, And she even knows that how he's been able to like dance around the hunters or the ghouls, as he says. And she's like, you will be leading a portion of the force as my second. He's like, oh, thank you, Baroness. She's like, good. Now go rest. We carry out the thing tomorrow. As like the others like, good job, man. Like they're like, good job, Deku. You got promoted. One step closer to captain. He's like, oh, quiet. We don't even have a crew. And they're like, sure you do. You got a few of the as they describe how some of the Vandals have been watching. Some of the Vandals and a few of the Drakes have been watching him. And they say how a lot of them, quite a few of them are impressed. If you don't know, if I remember correctly, it's that a captain can ascend, like where he has like a loyal like group of fallen following him in a way. So soon maybe he won't really get to captain yet, because they really aren't following him. They're just like interested and see what it'll do. So now it will be his like first taste of like a like a large or like a medium-sized force of troops under his control. And they talk about this, and he's sort of like before like they talk about this, and then like the Baroness tells him, oh, you get back to work. We gotta go discuss the details of the raid, is what I'll be calling it. And so like they go off to like a little map, and she's like, this is the outpost we're attacking. This is how many forces you'll be given, and yada yada. So as she's describing this, he's like understanding, is like, alright, will I be taking my personal, like his, as he's like, she's like, you'll be also be taking your personal squad. He's like, yes ma'am. And she's like, that's the end of it. Go now, get rest. We need you strong. He's like, yes ma'am. As he like wanders off, and they like all go back to the bunk beds. At this point, they like Deku's like found like a mattress or something for Toga to sleep on, so he just like grabs a mattress and like puts some like stuff on so she can sleep, and there we go. This was pretty decently long, and I thank you for watching this, listening me talk, listening to my stories and everything. Thank you again. I hope you all have a nice night, nice days, nice life. Good night.